Do you lay awake at night wondering if you should leave your relationship? It's excruciating to feel so alone in a struggling relationship. But the thing is, leaving is scary and hard. So it feels like you're stuck in that awful place between not getting your needs met and the expense and the embarrassment and the heartache of ending it. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways to know whether your husband will ever change so you can stop agonizing and make the biggest decision of your life without regrets, just like thousands of women I've helped out of your same spot over the last 25 years. One way to know if your husband will change is if you're doing work that's backfiring on your relationship. I know you're probably exhausted from trying everything. Maybe you're the only one trying. I was there too, sitting on the gray couch in the marriage counselor's office, convinced I was going to have to get divorced or spend the rest of my life in a loveless, painful marriage because he wouldn't do the things I told him I needed from him, like dishes and earning more money and doing things as a team. I was miserable and frustrated and convinced that my husband would never change. And thank God I didn't leave because I would have missed out on the fairy tale marriage I have now, where he's become the man of my dreams again. And I feel so supported and very much like a team, like how he was just saying how beautiful I was while he was setting up the camera and the mic and the lights for this video for me. What I didn't realize was the work I was doing on our relationship was backfiring. The things that I thought I had to do to fix our marriage they were actually making things worse. Here's what I mean. One painful part of my marriage was that my husband was distant and avoidant. So I knew from reading books and articles by marriage counselors that I should communicate my needs to him. So I told him I had a deep concern about his lack of affection and that I needed him to start like kissing me more and initiating bedroom activities more, and that I wouldn't be happy until he did. But honestly, I could barely get him to listen to me. And when he did, he would just say, okay. And then nothing changed. He was still avoiding me and we both knew it. And that was painful. Or maybe he would like give me an awkward hug and a kiss or something. And then I would feel terrible because I knew he was only doing it because I told him to. And that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted him to want to hug and kiss me. I wanted to feel desired and loved. So the idea that I needed to tell him to be more affectionate, like he didn't know that I liked affection or he somehow forgot, that was terrible advice because first of all, it didn't work. It didn't make him want to listen to me or come in for a passionate kiss. But even if he did it, I would always wonder if he was just doing it because I told him to. So that never felt good. It couldn't ever feel good. So I was working hard on our relationship, but it was the wrong work. And it wasn't until I asked the happiest wives I knew for their secrets about marriage that I was able to get a much better response from him. That's how I learned about the 6 intimacy skills. I had to stop telling my husband how to be a husband before he went back to being a great husband again. And until I did that, there was no chance for my needs to get met. We just kept repeating the same painful pattern again and again. And I became more hopeless that marrying him was a mistake. I had to stop following the bad relationship advice that I continue to hear from experts and start listening to the women who had the kind of marriage I want, the kind I have now. I had to stop doing the wrong, exhausting work and start practicing the 6 intimacy skills to get the man who wooed me back. All right. The second sign is if you think leaving will protect your children. Maybe you're thinking, but Laura, what about the kids? I can't stay and watch him hurt them or be a bad father. Well, let me tell you about my student, Catherine. She was so frustrated with her husband's parenting. And then one day at the fair, her husband lost their 4-year-old special needs son in the crowd. And this child is especially anxious in crowds. So you can imagine how stressful that was. They both frantically looked for him. And when Catherine finally found their boy, her husband was livid. He harshly yelled at their child and dramatically threw him over his shoulder in front of everyone in the crowd. And the crowd that was already a stressor for the boy. And then her husband stalked home angrily, making no attempt to control his rage. And it was so distressing for Catherine. A very instinct told her to step in, to criticize her husband, to protect her son from his father's harsh reaction. But Catherine had been learning the intimacy skills. So instead of giving her husband a wife lesson, she decided to let him learn a life lesson. She said nothing critical, even though she would have been completely justified. And that's when something remarkable happened. The next morning, her husband called first the whole family together and humbly apologized to their son. He told their 4-year-old that yelling at him was totally unacceptable, that it was not okay, and treating him angrily was wrong, and that he wouldn't do it again. It was very moving and healing, like wrapping a warm blanket of emotional safety around the whole family. Catherine had worked so hard for years trying to get her husband to be accountable as a father like this. She'd criticized, suggested, coached, taught, and corrected him endlessly. But that day, it happened when she didn't say a word. Instead of hearing her voice telling him what to do, her husband heard his own conscience. She tells the whole story in her own words on the Empowered Wife podcast. It's an episode called 4 Steps to Relationship Coach Certification. So if you're worried about your kids and that's why you want to leave, well, that's scary and heartbreaking. And you can't know if this could improve until you try the 6 intimacy skills. Sign number 3 is if you are leaving because he's not putting in any effort. My student Anne felt for years that her husband was definitely not putting in any effort to fix the relationship. And he was the one with the major issues, like stonewalling her when she tried to discuss challenges with him. She would try to talk with him about finances or their kids so that they could solve issues like 2 adults. But instead, he would shut down and refuse to have any conversation with her. It was unbelievably lonely and painful for Anne to feel so rejected and shut out by her own husband. But after Anne practiced the intimacy skills, not only did he stop stonewalling her, they were able to have productive, easy conversations about the challenges they had together, even finances and the kids. And I know this because Anne's husband came on the Empowered Wife podcast and told me his side of the story, which was that he was feeling so relieved and happy that they were no longer stuck with challenges about their kids or finances that they could never resolve. He said how grateful he was that they could now move forward as a team because his wife was practicing the 6 intimacy skills. Now, he also revealed, get this, that he had been intentionally stonewalling his wife in those bad old days. Yeah. He said that because of the way those conversations got so disagreeable, he believed it was the best way to protect them both from doing any damage to each other. So it wasn't because he didn't want to improve the relationship. It was because silence was the best way he could see to keep the relationship peaceful and protected. So if you're frustrated that your husband is not working on the relationship, it may be that he is trying desperately to preserve it in a way that seems utterly offensive and wrong. You can't really know until you practice the 6 intimacy skills. You know, the things that happily married women naturally do, but that anyone can learn. So now you're probably thinking, well, I need those 6 intimacy skills. And you're right, you do. And I talk about them every week on this podcast, but I can only give you so much in a podcast. And I want to give you more secrets, more inspiration, more insights on how this applies to your life. I'm on a mission to end world divorce, and I know you'll be more successful in your relationship if I can give you the juicy details with slides and exercises so you can practice what you're learning and apply it to your life. So I created a masterclass called How to Eliminate the 3 Behaviors That Are Putting Your Marriage at Risk. And I'll show you specific skills and how to apply them in your situation. Thousands of women have said this masterclass was life-changing and marriage-changing. And even better, it's totally free. I don't usually share it here on YouTube or in the podcast or anywhere else except to invite women who have already subscribed to my email for a while. but I'm experimenting with offering this masterclass for 1 week for those of you who are here listening. The link is in the show notes and below this video on YouTube. And what I want to say that I know about you is that you care deeply about having a great relationship. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You're here listening because you have hope. It means you don't want to leave your relationship. You want to make your relationship work. You want it to thrive. And I remember what that's like. And that's what I want to show you. I want to give you the actual specific phrases and steps to make things so much better. I want to encourage you to go with that hope because deep down you believe that your relationship could be better. And you're right. Register for my free masterclass, How to Eliminate the Top 3 Behaviors That Are Putting Your Marriage at Risk, by clicking on the link in the show notes or below this video on YouTube. And I'll see you on the other side. For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.